Good afternoon. How are you? Well, it's in the 30s. We got daylight. It's a little windy. So it's not that bad. I did a podcast today, which I'll be publishing shortly. And what I tried to do is to look at the Sunday newspaper like I would when I was a student at Columbia and to comment on the lead stories, because some people are saying they'd like to hear more of what I have to say. And it's been shortened because the battery runs out because it's so cold. So, starting with Ukraine for now, I think it's really interesting that we hope against hope that Putin is not going to go in and seize the Ukraine as part of his rebuilding exercise of the Soviet Union. And money and power certainly motivate him, but he has an underlying theme, and it's driven him crazy, and it is about the end of the Soviet Empire. So that's a factor we can't ignore when we're hoping he's going to prefer to compromise or to take some step that we would consider rational because we're not prepared to fight him. And it's because he knows we're not prepared to fight him that he's in this situation. I apologize that the phone made noise. I will try to eliminate it the next time. I thought I did this time. The position of America, of the United States, is we're moving troops into NATO countries, say like Poland, but they're going to stay in there to protect them against the war that's not going to go into Poland. So in other words, we're going to observe, if Putin goes in, him taking over the country, but not do anything with our troops to stop him. At least that's the way it sounds. And it's not helpful that Putin and China are comfortable with this approach. So that's one thing that bothers me. In terms of the reckoning, that is our failure to prosecute the people who caused an effort to overthrow our government, we have Steve Bannon, if you remember, he's being prosecuted for contempt of Congress for failing to act. And the prosecutors have subpoenaed the records of his lawyer, Bob Costello, whom I know well because we were both prosecutors together in the official corruption unit. And we were a door away for a fair amount of that time. Well, he represents Rudy and Bannon, and he's upset because the authorities want to get his communications, and they've subpoenaed it to use them. Now, the attorney-client privilege goes so far, but if a third party's involved, no privilege. If you intend to communicate it to somebody, a third party, no privilege. If you're using it to conceal a crime, no privilege. So I don't know the underlying facts because the court papers that I've been able to learn about don't tell me the answer to those questions, but I'm sure we'll hear it in the days ahead. Finally, I think of the Republicans as a cult of death, and I don't think that's an exaggeration. And the reason they are is because other things take priority over life, despite what they say in the battle of choice. For example, they're comfortable with kids dying in deference to a Second Amendment right that compromises the safety, not just of children, but of lots of people. But if you're going to allow children to die in a schoolroom, you're prepared to let anybody die. The second thing that's interesting is to give disinformation to people who rely on you wrongly about how the vaccines are not helpful and not necessary and you shouldn't do it. And you don't need to wear a mask or stay at a distance. And then these people become very ill, may compromise their organs for the rest of their lives, and die. And we've had interviews recently in which that's happened. And finally, there was one op-ed I read today, and I'll expand upon it in my podcast, and it was that why do we need driverless cars? Well, I'm figuring that when I get older, they will have perfected these driverless cars. And I don't want to be the old guy who can't get around because he can't be trusted driving cars anymore. Some of you people out there might agree with this. You should write your local congressman about that. Anyhow, I'm cutting it short because I don't know if the cold will compromise it. I'm sorry that you heard one phone call, I think, and I'll work again at it tomorrow. All the best. Have a great remaining day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Road's kind of muddy here, but I still have my cathedral of trees to give me solace and happiness on this day of wandering. Do you know my neighbors actually want to get rid of this dirt road? I can't believe it, but there it is. I don't think they'll succeed, but that's one of their efforts. Bye-bye.